Welcome everybody to OpenCast. I'm Vashi V, and I'm joined by some people from Toku Portal, with permission from Zero this time, as me and him had a discussion prior to this. And here they are with their introductions.
The Decade.
The Little King.
And Rye. So today we're talking about it's a subject that's come and gone, but I was thinking about it recently and I wanted to talk about it. It involves Adventure Time, which if you haven't seen that show, the main character is his name is Finn, and for a while, like, he has this crush on Bubblegum Princess, but she's too old for him and doesn't feel the same way. And then he meets Flame Princess and starts dating her. So how much do you all know about this show?
I only knew a little bit. I haven't really watched it, but I did watch the episodes that you recommended that basically involved this relationship with Flame Princess.
I've seen bits and pieces of both this arc and the show in general, but does playing this level count?
Does playing what?
Does playing the Lego Dimensions level count?
I don't know. I don't know what that entails.
It does have, like, parts of episodes, and it does involve certain points of the show.
Well, it probably gives you a decent idea of what Finn is like, which is enough to do this.
So, yes?
So, yeah, probably.
Okay, then, a little bit at least.
As for me, is like I started watching this a while ago, ended up dropping it for other shows to watch. And then Rye gave me a list of episodes involving Princess Bubblegum and Flame Princess, so I watched those. So I'm up to at least on that.
So with Finn's like his whole crush on Princess Bubblegum, like, it feels he's 12 at the start of the series and 13 when he finally meets Flame Princess. So his, like, little childhood crush, it doesn't really feel like it's anything actually serious, and that's probably why Bubblegum doesn't take him too seriously. But how do you feel about that in general? Just having, like, a crush on someone that's too old for you?
Well, I mean, I think it's not really a matter of age, it's just maturity, because, I mean, some young people are super mature and know what they want in life, and some old people didn't really grow up and are irresponsible, so... But in this case, I think Finn maybe could have won Gumball's heart. I mean, Gumball. Wow, that is... Okay, I'm just gonna stop there. Go, Bubblegum Princess, yes. Could have won her heart, but he was just super shy and awkward, and yeah, that's not gonna impress anyone.
While he does have a good moral conscience, Finn is actually pretty immature.
To put it mildly.
Like he's fairly immature and easily prodded. Because from what I've seen, Jake does a fair bit of prodding, which Jake has the best intentions with it, but it usually sways into bad things.
It doesn't help that Jake is also a really bad role model. Trying to give Finn, like, good advice, but it's usually just bad advice, or just generally, like, being a lazy person. He does care about him, though, and that's why he does go looking to find Finn a new girlfriend, and stumbles upon Flame Princess. What's really weird about this is just how this whole thing kicks off, with Jake just not knowing what he's doing and then just saying whatever he thinks he needs to say to impress the Flame King. It's like, yo, let my friend date your daughter. And then Finn has to come in and, like, actually fix it when he finds out. But when Finn first sees her, like, a girl his age, he just straight up says, like, oh, I think I have a crush on her. And then he starts talking, when he actually, like, works up the courage to talk to her, he starts saying, like, how he feels weird around her and stuff, as though he's known her longer than he has. How do you feel about that? Like, is that just in the moment, or...
Yeah, probably, but man, Jake is an idiot.
Yes.
That was ridiculous. I mean, just find another princess. Why are you going through so much trouble to get some evil princess that's locked up?
He doesn't even find out that she's evil until he, like, already seals the deal.
Yeah.
Even better. Oh my god. I've seen dogs that aren't necessarily the smartest, but this is just taking it a tad far, even for this show. And the fact that the dude you're trying to be a wingman for has to come in and fix your mistake, you're not being a very good wingman if that's the case.
I mean, it doesn't help that Finn had to fix it after she started burning down his house.
Yeah.
She literally starts burning down his house, and then, like, he comes in and, like, well, he didn't exactly do it. She ended up setting off some of Princess Bubblegum's fireworks, which are they're liquid based, so it happens and it rains on her, puts her fire out, basically takes her out of the scenario for that. At which point Finn was like, "Ooh, I think I got a crush." As Jake's trying to apologize for basically screwing everything up.
Like, the heel turn here is part of what gets me. How Finn just goes from, like, don't touch bubblegum stuff, and then he sees her and he's suddenly like, oh, I like you.
Right. And, like, I've experienced love at first sight. I'm fairly certain a lot of people have. In most cases, it's a crush. An infatuation. Some lead to great things, some don't. So for him seeing her and going, ooh, I'm in love, it's a natural thing for it to happen. Just with how it went from literally from don't fuck with Princess Bubblegum shit to who's Princess Bubblegum. It was a really big jump.
And then, do you think that, like, so, like, it's clearly, like, that Flame Princess is justified in how angry she is when they first meet after everything Jake pulled. But do you, really think that, like, she should have given him that chance that she did?
No! Hang out with that big an idiot, I'd say no.
Like, after everything they put her through, do you think that she really should have, like, stayed with them like that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's just obvious that Finn wasn't the only ignorant one. Or naive, I should say.
I mean, like, nothing, I don't have anything against them being together. It's just, like, after, like, all the ways that they hurt her unintentionally, only for her to find out that, like, to confuse, like, what Finn is, to find out that, like, oh, but they still shouldn't be together simply because she's made of fire and she hurts him. To give him that chance just because he's willing to defy nature. It sounds like a beautiful thing, but after everything that happened...
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. But hey, if Shark Boy and Lava Girl can do it, why can't they?
Wait, were Shark Boy and Lava Girl a couple?
They hinted at it, but they did show signs of, like, he sticks with her even though she physically hurts him a lot. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, but the point still stands.
Like, up until Finn himself fucks up, like, I get everything that Finn did to be with Flame Princess. He went through, he did everything he could to make the relationship work, despite the fact that, like, her touching him hurt. His solution, well, I'm just gonna wrap myself in foil, so we can hug. It's a very nice and monumental gesture on his part.
Yeah, once they... go on.
It's like, but he ends up blowing it because of his... I want to call it immaturity, but because of his drive to figure out a dream.
Right. Once they actually start hanging out and getting to know each other, it does feel a lot better. It's in that initial moment.
Like in terms of her giving him a chance after everything Jake did, I get, because technically both of them got screwed by Jake. Because Finn hadn't asked for this. Finn's not the one who actually insulted her or anything else like that. That was all Jake. So her giving him a chance would be normal, though doesn't usually happen in real life. And then the same thing is, like, she was burning down his house again because of something Jake did. So once everything comes out and it's like it was all Jake's fault, it's like it makes sense for them to give each other a chance.
And once they do start hanging out, it is, like, really nice that they go through so much for each other. Like you said, Finn getting wrapped up in foil just so they can hug. Or, like, when they try kissing and it doesn't work out, he, like, picks up a rock instead and kisses that and hands it to her so she kisses it.
Okay, that is kinda cute, I guess.
Because, like, they can't kiss, for multiple reasons. So it was really nice to just see that. And then there was... go on.
Like, there's a moment where they're playing cards and stuff like that, and Finn's wearing oven mitts, and Fire Princess has her hands wrapped in foil so she doesn't burn anything or like that.
Yeah, Finn doesn't need the oven mitts, he's just wearing it probably to make her feel better. It's like, that's a really sweet and subtle detail.
Right. It's like, and these are the kind of things, like, when you look at relationships, it's one of those, it takes two people. So for him to wear the oven mitts so she doesn't feel singled out or anything else like that, or her to feel bad for the way she is, he's doing doing what he can to keep her from feeling like that. It's each of them seem to be putting in the necessary willingness and to basically defy nature to be together. They're doing what they can so their relationship can blossom, and it's what you're supposed to do. Relationships should work. So it just, even the oven mitts alone were just a very, very nice subtle touch.
And
yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say, I mean, it's clear, like, at this point that he has good intentions and he can definitely put some effort in, but at the end of the day, it's his own kind of selfish delusions that screw him over.
yeah, and when he was interested in bubblegum still, he did try. He did put in a lot of work and take a lot of bad advice to try and get her attention, and she just didn't acquiesce. I feel like if they had gone together, like, it maybe would have worked out, at least in some way.
Like, for Finn and Bubblegum, I think the one point in time where it was really close for them to get together was when she ended up getting injured against the Lich, and ended up basically becoming 13. You know, so she was the same age as Finn, but complications arose and she had to go back to being 18. Because at least during that point in time, is like it was really easy to see that she really did care for him and everything else. But things happen beyond anybody's control, and she had to go back to being 18 and not being able to date him.
She even, like, chose to stay as a child younger, even though she knew how to fix herself. Like, it feels like part of her actually did want it. Even if it was just influenced by her actually being 13 at the time. Then there was the incident with Finn and Jake going to get Flame Princess's candles and stumbling upon a conspiracy to kill her father and saving him. And Jake knew at this point that he was evil and neglected to say anything. Finn only knew that, like, it was Flame Princess's father and wanted to save him. So, it kind of makes it weird. Like, what would Finn have done if he had known that guy was evil before he did anything? Would he still have saved him? I think he would have, honestly. Because it was still his girlfriend's father. He still wouldn't want anything bad to happen to him at the time.
Like, yeah, that's my thinking on it. Because, again, it's like, it really doesn't matter what, you know, your partner's parents are like. It's like, you still want your partner to be happy. So you do what you can to do so, even if it means putting up with, you know, in this case, a very evil asshole who's doing everything he can to make keep his daughter evil.
Yeah, sneaking up on her through flames when he thinks she's alone, just to whisper evil in her ear. And what does Finn do? He takes her on a dungeon crawl to clear her head. And this is one of the more interesting points I find, where they're able to, like, talk through their problems. She's able to admit, like, okay, this isn't working for me, and he's like, alright, well, let's make it work for you. Or, like, and then she still listened to him. She still, like, knew that there was a certain time where, like, you can't just burn everything. That's not the answer. It felt like this was, like, the most they had connected out of all the time they spent together.
Yeah, it was definitely good development for both of them. So it's they're just building up the downfall, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea for a date, but really there's not much else I can say that you guys have already said, so.
Like, the dungeon crawl was an interesting point, because to equate this to, you know, real relationships and stuff like that, this would basically be Finn introducing his girlfriend into his interests, what he likes. And she affords him the opportunity to show her his interests, and tries to enjoy it. Ends up not enjoying the way he does it, and so they end up having, for lack of a better term, a little spat where she goes, "This is not fun for me." So he does what he can to make it enjoyable for her. And I feel like if she still wouldn't have enjoyed it, that he would have called it off, and that'd have been the end of the dungeon crawl and all that. but he found a way to make it work. And so did she, while still adhering to, you know, the whole you can't just burn everything whenever you want. And it's a really touching moment. And like Decade said, it really does set up the downfall. It was like, because this is when they feel the closest.
And then Finn makes the stupidest decision of his entire life. Well, actually, before we talk about that, there's still one other episode. While Finn is still dating her, called Poohoy. Did you guys watch that episode?
What?
I watched it.
Do I even want to know?
We're gonna talk about it anyways.
Oh,
So you're probably wondering why I included that episode on this list. Well, it's a very weird and out of place episode. Like Finn goes into a pillow fort and then he finds himself in this entire pillow world, and he can't get home, and he ends up marrying a pillow wife and having pillow kids until he grows old and dies and returns back to the normal world. Well, there was this one theorist on Reddit. I don't quite remember who did it, who made the theory. I'm trying to look it up right now, actually. Oh, I think I found it. Yeah, by Little Potato 911, where they basically talk about Finn being sexually frustrated. He's dating someone that he effectively cannot come into contact with. He can't even hold hands with her. He just has to sit there and look at her. And they basically go on and say that it's like really messing with him. And so that when he goes in the pill fort, he falls asleep and has a dream about a life where he has a soft wife, someone that he can hold and it's comfortable. And he has just a happy, simple life. And that maybe this is what he really wants. What do you think of that?
Oh, so it didn't happen? It was just a dream? Or that's the theory?
That's the theory. We have no idea what the answer is. As far as we know, this theory is not right, but it was an interesting point brought up, so I wanted to include it here.
I mean, it could be, but I just feel like he hasn't even gone through puberty yet. I mean, he just seems so innocent, like kissing the rock and stuff, that...
We know that he doesn't actually know what sex is.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, and then Jake, when he stretches his arm out and explains the steps of a relationship, and then he's like, don't get to whatever, number 14 or something. Step 15, yeah. So, it could be, but I don't think so.
I have no words. I really don't. I'll let you guys have fun at this one. I just don't.
You don't know what to make of this?
I really fucking don't. And I've seen some weird shit.
Like, I think the thing that sells this particular theory, I mean, ignore the sexual frustration part because he's 13, is the fact that he physically can't touch his girlfriend. That's rough. You deal with that in long distance relationships and a very myriad of other reasons why that would be a thing. And it is rough, and your brain does seek an outlet for it. And what sells the part of it being a dream is when Finn finally comes back, he references the fact that he had to tell Jake about a dream he had. At which point he immediately forgets it.
That's the biggest argument for it being a dream, because you tend to like forget dreams when you wake up. Even if you remember for a minute, as soon as you start to think about something else, it's gone.
Like, really the only time like dreams tend to stick around are if, I know there's a lot of people who do dream journals when they first wake up, because that's when it's fresh. They don't think about anything else, they just write the dreams down. Beyond that, it's the experiences of deja vu, where you go, I had a dream just like this, where this similar situation happened. So for Finn to immediately forget it makes it seem like it was a dream. And there is the point that the length of time in dreams doesn't correlate with the times in reality. You can fall asleep for 5 minutes and have a dream that took 3 weeks.
And dreams can scene skip like in a show. So like all the age jumps that we see Finn go through, it could be like that's literally all he sees in the dream. Just those moments, like, oh, I have kids now, and it feels normal to him. Because he's not questioning it.
Right, and because you don't really question things in dreams, you just tend to roll with them. You know, so the scene changing, and like your brain kind of makes up the reasoning for why everything's different and what's changed and why it is to where it is. So for him to jump to, I'm an adult, I have a wife, I have kids, that's just his brain filling in the blanks from the scene skip. So most of this theory seems really, really valid. And like I said, it would explain it being in there, and it would explain why the dream happened. Would be the whole, I can't physically touch my girlfriend. It's a shitty aspect of my relationship. I want to be able to touch my girlfriend. So he ends up having a dream where, hey, I have a girlfriend I can touch. Which led to wife and pillow kids and all of that.
Especially since the episode opens up with him being worried that she's losing interest in him because she didn't laugh at a joke he made. A little petty thing to be worried about, but he is 13. And like all these episodes we're talking about like take place months apart. He is 14 when this final event happens where Ice King, while they're on a date, Ice King comes along and mocks them a little bit. And so Flame Princess gets into a fight with him, and he gives Finn a wet dream, basically. And then he tries to repeat it by instigating another fight with him. Except Ice King wins this time, so he doesn't have a good dream. And there's oh, go on.
The dream is basically the same as what he had with Flame Princess, except it's the Ice King shooting ice at his crotch, not fire. I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the metaphorical implications. Okay.
Moving on.
But there was also like a cosmic owl aspect, this like religious figure in the series, where it said that like if he appears in your dream, that dream is destined to come true. And so when he has the bad dream the second time, Jake, who is an avid follower of the cosmic owl, convinces him that he needs to finish the dream because it's super important. And so he blows things super out of proportion by instigating a final fight between them by like writing letters to each other, just insulting them to get them to fight. And you know what? Ice Kingdom gets destroyed as a result. And he gets knocked unconscious during it, and all he gets is, you blew it. When he comes to, he admits to Flame Princess what he had done. She feels betrayed, rightfully so, and breaks up with him. This is like the most out of character decision I think Finn has made too. Like, he's a rash character at times, yeah, but like I just it feels so hard to believe he actually went through with this kind of thing, instigating this fight between someone he doesn't really care about, but also his girlfriend that he loves.
I feel like this was less rash, more impulsive. Like, okay, yes, it seems out of his character to go this far, but you gotta remember, at this point, he's a freaking 13-year-old.
I think he's 14 at this point, actually.
Okay, 14-year-old still. And that, around those age points, you can really flip on a dime sometimes. Not everybody, obviously, but it's very easy to get blinded by certain impulses, especially in the early teenage years. Gained from experience being with high schoolers. So, I'm not saying that this was a good thing, and I'm not saying this was, like, entirely in his character either.
But you're not saying it's entirely, like, not, like, unbelievable.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that this is the norm for him either by any means. Do you see what I'm saying? It's sort of middle ground, I think.
And
still, I'm not denying he utterly fucked up.
And what I said about Jake being the worst role model really stands out here. Just encouraging this behavior.
Well, I think the point that in defense of Finn was because he kind of instigated the fight the second.
He did.
And the fight was very similar to the first one. I don't think he expected it to escalate to the point that it did. Granted, the reason it escalated was his fault. It was what he put in the letter to the Flame Princess that is what escalated it. In Jake's defense, pretty much the only thing he told him was to, finish the dream. Where Jake fucked up was once Finn started to run with his idea to not go, hey, this might be a bit much.
That is true. Jake wasn't aware of how far Finn was going.
Until it was too late to do so.
I mean, the fight was pretty cool, but
yeah, the fight was cool.
Finn, I mean, the whole theme of the show is basically like an RPG main character that's super childish, so wanting to see an awesome fight, I guess that makes sense, but he wasn't really thinking about Flame Princess's feelings at all, so bad move.
And this seems to be like the first time that he doesn't actually think about her feelings. Like, in the letter he writes to her, he writes like, oh, your hair is bad and your candles smell. Like, does he really feel that way?
Quite frankly, I kind of don't want to know, and I'm a Flame Princess this time. I mean, oh god, I legitimately cannot think of a way that could have turned out better. I legitimately can't.
And on her leaving Finn, it's like you could see that it hurt her to do it because of how much she had trusted him and cared for him, and to have basically everything you love and cherish about somebody basically get turned against you by that person. It's very heartbreaking, and you could see that she kind of had a hard time doing it, but she had to. So it's again another little touching, subtle moment that was there that emphasizes the reality of relationships, that they're not always perfect. Something can go bad, and if it's bad enough, you do have to end it. And it's another great moment, and again, yes, that fight scene was awesome.
And while she's off dealing with her feelings of like, I feel bad, she catches Bubblegum spying on her. Because Bubblegum only sees her as a potential threat with her immense power. And this is, alludes to, like, the darker side of Bubblegum, where she just doesn't, she has this, like, whole control freak aspect about her. And she's a bit of a sociopath. We didn't see, you guys didn't watch too many episodes that shows that, but it gets way worse later on. And then Flame Princess finds out that, hey, Bubblegum was the reason she was locked in a lantern most of her life in the first place. Because her father was like, oh, if my daughter's gonna be stronger than me, then get rid of her. And Willem's like, that's dangerous. Can you at least lock her up? Fine. And then he does so. And now she feels betrayed again. And lied to. And she goes back home, usurps the throne, and overthrows her father.
Daddy's little girl, all grown up.
Not completely, because she builds her entire kingdom on honesty.
Oh boy.
Yeah, she enforces a new honesty policy. So when Finn and Bubblegum travel to the Flame Kingdom to look for her, the guards at the front of the castle are like, why do you want to get in? And they're like, just let us in. It's like, no, tell us why, though. They're like, we want to see the Flame King's like, well, go on in, then. Like, for one reason or another, the people of the Flame Kingdom just take the new policy very seriously and just open up about things they don't even need to.
Well, in fairness, the first moment she's released from prison, she basically turns a handful of people just into little fireballs. I wouldn't want to piss that person off either.
Yeah. But honestly, none of them seem very hesitant or regretful about it either. They flow into the change pretty well.
Right, which that was a slightly unbelievable aspect of it, because with regime change comes issues and everything else, and this one there seemed to be none, which kind of leads to just how much of an evil asshole the Flame King was. And like, this touches on something else that took place during all this. There's a point where once Finn finds out that she's supposed to be evil, he goes, well, I'm gonna fix that. And like, he sets out to keep her from being evil, which again is not helped by instigating a fight between two people. And it shows that it hits with her setting up her kingdom and building it on honesty. Like, it kind of shows that she didn't go evil. Like, she fought that aspect of herself, which I guess could be attributed to the fact that you learn things from relationships. Relationships will change you, and in the case of her, it was she was raised her entire life to feel that she was evil, and Finn had changed that for her, and that was an aspect of the relationship with Finn, no matter how badly it ended, that she didn't want to lose.
So ultimately, when Jake set out to get Finn a new girlfriend, and everything that it led to, was it worth it? Did Jake actually do a good thing in the end? Based on everything that's happened, I'd say yes. It sucks what Finn did and that they had to break up, but the ultimate outcome is that Flame Princess grew from the experience.
Well, take the victors where you can find them, so I guess.
Yeah, it seems like at least the Flame Kingdom or whatever is better off for it. And yeah, I'm sure Finn did learn some lesson here.
Uh, don't instigate fights with your girlfriend.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that's always
I
good,
hope
good one
he
to learn.
learned that lesson. He seems sincerely sorry.
It's like in terms of like Jake's ideas, like what started out as a good idea went bad really quick on Jake's behalf, but it led to an amazing relationship that Finn had with the Fire Princess for both parts until Finn fucked it up through no fault of anybody but himself. And this is one of those points where at the end of the day, truthfully, Finn has nobody to blame but himself. And while the relationship wasn't perfect in its design, with them not being able to touch and all that, it was still a good relationship, and both parties really cared about each other. And the fact that the Flame Princess, for lack of a better term, became a better person for it, even after the relationship. And hopefully Finn did too. Hopefully Finn learned a valuable lesson. Don't instigate shit or anything else like that. It works out for both parties, is like, because there's no guarantee that any relationship you're in is going to stay, no matter how perfect it may seem to you or to the other party. And this is coming from someone who literally just went through that. From my perspective on my relationship that I had here recently, everything was beautiful, everything was perfect. Turns out that wasn't the case, so it had to end, which makes this podcast very bad timing. But it also gives me a more in-depth perspective into, how everything plays out. And like I said, like, Finn seemed to have learned from his mistake. I haven't seen any more of the show beyond what that pertains, at least with this particular relationship. So there may be further in where he gets into another relationship. I don't know. If that's the case, hopefully, it doesn't end because he does something this stupid.
There is an episode later on where the old Flame King does break out and take the throne back, and so Flame Princess goes to Finn to ask his help in taking back the throne, and Finn is the most useless the entire time because he can't get over how they used to date, and so he keeps trying to break the ice and impress her, and he just ends up not doing anything, to the point where Cinnamon Bun ends up being the one to take out the Flame King.
Which, that is also fair and valid with how relationships play out, especially if you attempt to be friends, if you still care about that person. Because in my relationship, I still care about the woman I was with. I still want the best for her. And it's really awkward and everything to interact with her on a level that's not on the same level where we were. So I can see that's how Finn handled it and ended up being useless. It makes perfect sense.
There was also an official graphic novel where Finn gets kidnapped, and so Flame Princess has to go through this puzzle dungeon to rescue him, and she's just trying to brute force it and tear her way through, but you can't do that. The dungeon is magic and you have to solve the puzzles, and she just has to go through this whole self-experience about, is she really just a ball of chaos, or can she control herself? Is she evil or not? And is she just like her father? It's really sweet. I recommend picking it up if you get a chance. Ultimately, Finn if Flame Princess if they can still be together, and she tells him no. He really hurt her, and she ultimately realizes that they can't be together. But she's still willing to be friends with him. And I'm fine with that. They were good together. And I'd be fine with seeing them get back together again, but ultimately maybe it is better that they aren't. What do you think? Should they be together?
I think if maybe eventually, if Finn shows that he's matured somewhat, because it's clear that, yeah, not too much. Eventually, maybe. I mean, they're the same age. I don't know if they age at the same rate, but yeah, I think it could work.
To put it simply, when the ship has sunk, you usually don't try to go down with it, but leave it to the salvagers to find something. In my opinion, though, I guess it's okay to be friends as long as it doesn't escalate to the point where it's starting to become hard for them to even be near each other anymore without things moving farther along than either of them want to. You know? But whatever happens, happens.
Like, I agree with King. Being friends is great and amazing if it can be done. In terms of getting back together, I feel since this entire issue was caused by Finn, he would have to show a lot of growth and maturity and be able to prove to the Fire Princess that this type of thing would never happen again, which is hard to do. Because once you lose that trust, it's very, very hard to get it back. So I'm kind of on the fence about them getting back together either way. It's like, so, yeah.
Like I said, there's a later episode where they're seen hanging out again, and Finn is just an awkward mess. And she can't get into it because it's a serious situation and he's not being serious. Yeah, thanks for coming to talk about this. I was just thinking about it in the shower the other day, and it's something that I wanted to talk about because it is a really good arc in the show. And I can recommend some more good things like this if you guys are interested, but ultimately, I don't know what happens between them. I know the show is ending soon, but I haven't been keeping up with it lately. Maybe something happens. I don't know. Anything else?
Not really, but yeah, it was fun chatting about it.
It was certainly an interesting one, so... And hell, it was a fun thing to talk about. Why not, right?
While this was a very hard podcast to set up for due to recent events in my life, honestly, it's like it ended up working out for the better. It gave me perspective on things, and ultimately, that's what this podcast is for. Is just random things to talk about, for on anything in particular. Just, like, I really don't care the topic. So I'm down for any other topics that get presented. But yeah, thank you, Rye, for the therapy, and also thank you for the weird, intimate look into your life about what you think about while you're in the shower.
Yeah.
I think I could have gone without the information of how you came up with the idea for this podcast.
Sorry, but glad I could help you through this this very poorly timed event.
It's the event itself of when this particular podcast is taking place is the unfortunate part. When the idea was presented, was a great idea, and it's still a good idea in the long run. So I do appreciate it, and I do enjoy these type of podcasts where it's just about anything. That's kind of what my new show will be about if I can ever sit down and actually start doing that one.
You just got to do it.
Well, the thing with that is I have to think of the format to do it, because for like the format, like I have a good understanding of how I want to do it if it's just me. What throws a wrench into it is if I have other people on the podcast. Like there's one particular one I want to do on the idea behind Death Note, the most recent Netflix version, and that horribleness.
I will sit down and watch that to do a podcast with you.
So yeah, it's trying to figure out the format I wanted to do it, is like, because like for me it's like I would do like the ones by myself, with the full, with the video setup, the whole 9 yards. That's harder to do with other people that aren't close enough to come over and, for lack of a better term, to be on the set with me. So I'll have to figure out how I want to handle that. I may just end up having some have video, some just have audio. But I will be starting that. Anybody who's actually on my channel who actually follows it, it is WT Hiffle, which I'm guessing most people can figure out stands for What the Hiffle, which will actually be the first topic, will be the actual creation of Hiffle and the idea behind censorship in anime when it comes to localization in the US. Because there's a lot of dumbass fucking ideas that have happened over the years because of that.
Okay, we don't. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna say this. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on the next OpenCast, whatever that is, whenever it is.
Thank you guys for joining me, and thank you to everybody who decided to view. And
Yep, it was fun. See you next time.
Thanks for having me. じゃあねみんな。